What are they doing? They are making concrete robot 3D printers. Robot concrete 3D printers. Quite frankly, I don't know what the German military's budget is. We have this really ambitious goal. We want a ripped rockin' bod. Oh, it's better because it grows more oysters. The culture of a company is a company's immune system. Weathermen are protected for, I have no idea why. We're gonna build 1.5 million 3D printers, minimum. It's not even a security risk. It is an active threat. Is he being a dick? This will be hard, but hopefully no more miserable than it has to be. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Slant 3D podcast, the show about 3D printing and our place inside the industry. Today, we're going to be talking about Phillips making 3D printed parts for your razors. Formlabs is being taken down by tariffs. The German military hates 3D printing, and some Seawalls. And then finally wrapping it all up with going through the culture statement of Slant 3D, which is helpful for anybody who's applying for jobs right now. So we'll be getting to all of that, but before that, let's go ahead and pay the bills. This episode is brought to you by Teleport. Teleport is our 3D print on demand app. You can connect any e-commerce store to it, and we will print and ship items directly to your customers for you. You have access to hundreds of 3D printers instantly for free. All you have to do is upload a model, and whenever you get an order, we will print and ship that item directly to your customer for you. So check out Teleport today at slantpod.com. That's slantpod.com. The link is down in the description. Okay, so Formlabs, or Phillips Fixables. So last week, Phillips announced a partnership with Printables, which is called Fixables, which are accessories for Phillips, not razors, but clippers, to have different depth clipper heads put onto these clippers. That's the full story. It was a video. The video did very well. I think it got like 100,000 views on YouTube and that kind of stuff. And it's a great step because there are these stupid chintzy little plastic parts that ruin a product. But it also is not that expensive to have these super cheap chintzy little parts just available to be purchased as spares, which I don't know if they had ever done that before or if they never wanted to do that. And making 3D printing looks like they made the attempt, but they don't have spares for actual real people who don't have a 3D printer. So all of these fixable 3D printable spare parts things, I think, are much more around posturing than is actually utility. Because the example that they used, quite frankly, is not very good, not very significant. That being said, I think this is a fantastic opportunity for a garage or a cottage industry of stuff. If you are out there designing products and that kind of thing and wondering what to do, this is an example of what to do. Phillips has just given you a category. They have only made fixables for a few of their clippers, but I'll bet they have a whole lot more. So if you want to make some money, the clippers do become much more useless if you don't have the correct length spread in order to cut your hair to the correct length. If you're somebody who does your own barber shopping, some of us. But those clippers having those accessories around can help improve the longevity and the usability of them. And there are types of items that can be lost. So you can find those types of categories. And right here, you can start with Phillips and just go through all their other clippers and design fixables for all their other stuff. So I don't think this is that significant as far as a utility in the world and that kind of stuff, but it does demonstrate an opportunity for everyone that is really quite interesting. So that's all I'll say about that. Formlabs CEO says company is caught in U.S.-China trade fight. This is per 3dprint.com. Max Lebowski, the CEO and co-founder of Formlabs, raised concerns about the challenges his company faces due to ongoing global trade tensions, particularly between the U.S. and China, blah, blah, blah. Formlabs makes their machines in China. Context there. It discourages Lebowski. Well, here's the thing. Yes, tariffs are going up. They don't know what their machines are going to cost, so they don't know what to do and all the rest of this. The quote that kind of got my goat, and I am going to editorialize a lot from this moment forward right after I read this quote. During the interview, which aired on May 12th, Lebowski said, "It discourages long-term planning. Long-term planning, long-term investment. That's what grows the economy for everybody. But we cannot do long-term planning right now because everything is changing constantly." I really appreciate the company that Max has built at Formlabs. That is an inane statement. I'm sorry. But literally, of course, These short-term actions do not affect long-term planning. If your long-term planning is derailed by a 90-day tariff pause or indecision or a 4-year presidency, you are not doing long-term planning. I'm sorry, I just have to draw that out right there. Long-term planning is 5 to 10 years, or at least I'll give you 2 to 5 years. Real long-term planning is 5 to 10 years. If I shouldn't do this because Max is the CEO of another 3D printing company. So I do not want to deride him, and interviews do this to you. But I understand that tariffs are totally disruptive to your existing supply chain, but not making a long-term move or decision about this means that you're mired in the detail of this moment. It means that they're probably reeling from the tariff problem that is going to be a problem for the next year. And I totally sympathize with that. But it means that you do now need to do really long-term planning, which is like, okay, tariffs are moving around, and I'll bet tariffs will keep on moving around for the next 4 years and probably even longer after that. So what is a long-term strategy that is independent of this noise right now? And move on that. So for them, it's like, well, tariffs might be in China or tariffs might not be in China. That sounds like uncertainty. Get the hell out. Short-term or long-term or otherwise, China is inherently uncertain because they are now a world power that wants Taiwan, and the US and China are going to butt heads forever until some sort of clarity is hit on those certain sort of geopolitical issues. Tariffs is one of the short-term issues, and they are only get worse the longer this goes down. So get the hell out. Right. So that's just the thing. Like I was sort of frustrated by the facts that Max was saying, this is hurting long-term planning. The next 3 months is not long-term planning. This is a symptom of a longer-term issue. And if you want to plan for the long term, you ask the question, what is not going to change over the next 10 years? And then you build a strategy around that. And then you can move in a direction, and all this stuff, individual politics, individual tariffs, individual geopolitics don't stop you. The strategy stays the same. The individual execution on any given month or year may change a little bit, but you're still moving towards that main goal. So that's my thing on that. But yes, Formlabs is being affected by tariffs because they just released a new product and the machines are manufactured in China. Okay. Next thing, 3D Systems cuts costs and bets on future comeback. 3D Systems just did their financial, their quarterly reports. As a public company, they're really useful. Here's the thing. Formlabs is losing approximately $30 million per quarter. They had a net loss of $37 million, which is more than twice what it has lost during the same period last year. In the first quarter, 3D Systems brought in $94.5 million revenue, down 8% from the same time last year. The biggest drop came from material sales, especially the dental aligner segment, where customers slowed down purchases to use up existing inventory. Okay, number of things going on here. Let's break it down. The dental stuff first. Invisalign and whatever, 3D Smile, the other ones who do it, had been using 3D Systems machinery in order to create dental aligners and dental aligner molds. So that had been a big driver of machine sales for 3D Systems over the last 3 to 4 years. Right now, in this kind of, I'm not going to say a recession period, but a careful moment in a lot of people's lives right now, to where $100 to thousands of dollar 2-3 alignment is not really on the budget when you have an increased mortgage payment and that kind of stuff. So those sorts of premium cosmetic purchases are going down right now. So that means that those Invisalign and those kind of guys are not going to buy more machinery, and they're going to store up, try to use up their inventory because they thought it was going to go, but they got leftover inventory now because people are not buying it. That's the first thing. The second thing, revenue is down 8% overall, mainly from that drop in dental aligners, because dental aligners and stuff have been a huge component of the 3D printing industry for a while. The $37 million net loss, which is more than twice what it lost during the same period last year. Okay, context here. This same period last year, 3D Systems, yes, I don't want to say Stratasys or Formlabs, but 3D Systems. 3D Systems lost $17 million this quarter last year. But then the next quarter, it lost 30 million. And then the next quarter, it lost 30 million. And now we're this quarter, it's lost 37 million. Of the publicly traded companies that are in 3D printing, Nano Dimension, Stratasys, 3D Systems. 3D Systems is losing money the fastest. Nano Dimension may have them for that. Let me change that. Stratasys is losing money the least quickly. Stratasys got into gross profitability, but are still losing money, but not as fast as this. At the moment, by the way, let me qualify all of this. This is not investment advice. I may own stock in the companies I'm discussing, and this is meant for entertainment and information purposes only, not investment advice. 3D Systems currently has, they just sold off $100 million in assets of part of their software division, which gives them cash reserves of roughly $250 million per 3dprint.com. I double checked the article, the sheets today, and that was true. So they have $250 million sitting in a pile, and they're losing $37 million. I'll round that down, $30 million per quarter, which means they have basically a quarter and a half. They have a year and a half of time to operate before they're kind of running out of money. About 2 years. We'll run out to 2 years because they're going to get going here. That situation is what the situation is. This seems indicative to me of a larger issue that I kind of wanted to discuss, which is, again, execution without direction, which we've seen with Stratasys, 3D Systems, and Nano Dimension. Nano Dimension, I don't think any of these companies know what it is that they're going for. There is no cohesive strategy, so they're being very reactive. This place is not profitable, sell it off. This thing is growing, so we'll give it some more, that kind of stuff. It's very in the moment. There's no sort of long-term strategy, again, that they can execute against to say that, in order to give shareholders a story of like where they're going. They're just saying like, well, sales were down this year because dental aligners are down, but dental aligners might come back up. They're not even doing that. I don't know what the guidance is here, and I don't know what 3D Systems is doing so that they can justify the losses. As a startup, actually, I don't know if I should throw ourselves in here. We just raised investment. Our job is to spend that money, which means on paper, we're going to have a bunch of cash and then we're going to spend a bunch of cash, but we're not going to have profit to pay back all that cash. That's what the investment is for. It is going to look like we're losing a bunch of money for a period of time because we're investing really heavily in the business in order to create a product that will have long-term returns. I don't know what these companies are investing in that will create long-term returns. 3D Systems just lost $37 million. I don't know what that went to. On their sheets, it looks like it's from operations, but I don't know if they bought a company or if they're really trying to build up some software or they got a new machine in the can that's coming down, whatever else it was. I don't know where that money is going. So if I was an investor, I would say, I'm not going to, I don't want this to turn into investment advice. If I was an investor, I don't know where all the money is going. And when I don't know where the money is going or what the goal is of all that money, I can't get behind losses continuing to exist. Because losses continuing to exist looks like a company that's not operating well and is unhealthy. That being said, they have fewer liabilities, less debt than they used to. They paid off a bunch of that. But they also have fewer assets than they used to because they keep on selling off chunks of the company. That is the context of 3D Systems right now, per their balance sheet and per their cash flow statement and that kind of thing. And it's just ongoing. They're cutting costs, cutting headcount and that kind of stuff, but they earn $100 million, but they still lose $30 million. Cutting headcount won't do it. Even consolidating things won't do it. So all that stuff. That's the thing. That's the context to this news here. Again, not investment advice. I'd love if somebody down in the comments has some context around 3D Systems that I don't. to where they can add some more color of like, where is all that money going? What are they investing in? Are they investing in something, or is it something else? Okay. Let's see here. Moving on to the next thing. Hold on, let me get a timestamp here real fast. All right. German military is wasting millions on 3D printing. This was a little bit clickbaity, but I like this one. The German military, this was per All3DP. In a rather scathing, publicly released assessment this week, the German government's internal auditors say the military, the Bundeswehr? How do you pronounce that, folks? My German is a little rusty. Has spent more than $3 million on roughly 33 3D printers in the past 3 years alone, with plans to spend another $15 million in the next 3 years, all for a spare parts repository with only 10 parts in it. Okay, this sounds bad. So 33 3D printers for $3 million. So we're looking at $100,000 per machine in order to test stuff out. Yeah, that sounds about right. $15 million more. Okay, cool. They're going to get 150 more 3D printers. Well, they're buying a piece of software that is going to hold 10 parts. There was a note in here. Let me scroll down and try to find it. A recommendation in the auditor's report is for the military to plan for the eventual 3D printing of spare parts for all new equipment and weapons systems acquisitions by requiring that contractors also provide part design data and manufacturing specs. Only then can the German military fully exploit the potential of 3D printing. So, where this is broken down is that the militaries are buying machines in order to produce spare parts, but they do not have the designs for these spare parts because that is proprietary information owned by the companies that produce the spare parts. And those companies don't want to give up the STL to the military because then they'll buy spare parts from them for less. It is as dysfunctional as it sounds. But it is funny because this is a typical sort of situation of kind of the ecosystem understanding necessary in order to implement 3D printing. They bought the printers and they're like, cool, we got the printers. Let's start making parts. You can't buy the parts. Why not? We don't have the model. Well, why can't we get the model? The company won't give it to us because that's a proprietary design. We can't manufacture it independently of them, which, to be fair, the company did engineer and design that part. The military could set up a design infrastructure in order to redesign those parts, but now you're dealing with the certifications and all the rest of that. So it turns into a whole big old mess. And now you know the trouble with spare parts creation throughout this supply chain situation. But is it a waste? Quite frankly, I don't know what the German military's budget is. I know it ain't no American budget, but $3 million isn't that unreasonable from a budget, but maybe I'm used to American spending on military stuff. It's not nothing. And $15 million certainly isn't nothing for something that won't have any models in it. Despite the blunt-sounding reprimand, the auditors acknowledge that the military is still in the implementation phase of 3D printing adoption, and that the German military had to purchase a corresponding number of printers to achieve initial capability in 3D printing. That is fair. They have to get some machines in order to learn this stuff. And again, a $3 million investment for hopefully long-term value is not that unreasonable. But it is a common sort of situation. It's just odd. The auditors called it an ineffective investment. Only a few parts have been 3D printed by the military. One for a ship did avoid the replacement of an entire assembly, but only marginally eased the burden on logistics, and overall the number of parts manufactured is insignificant compared to the German military's daily needs, the reports. Okay, that is unfair. The daily needs of any military is huge. That is the wrong reference point. Should be on an ROI basis. Like that part that where they replaced it and they didn't have to replace the whole assembly, was that $100,000 assembly? They just paid for one of the machines. Cool. So that may be a poorly worded statement there. Because the 3D printing does have tremendous value, especially in these implementations. but the military does not know how to use it and does not realize what they can use. And they're also limited by military restrictions. A US or German military cannot buy a bunch of bamboo lab machines because that is a ginormous security risk. It's not even a security risk. It is an active threat. But anyhow, funny story with that whole one. Okay, last one. This one I am actually really quite excited about. I liked this one when it came out. This is per TCT. Kind Designs raises additional $5 million to advance 3D printed seawalls. Kind Designs, a Miami-based startup working to 3D print the world's first living seawalls. By the way, that's trademark per Kind Designs. Was raised $5 million USD in its latest funding round, led by Overlay Capital with participation from strategic investors such as Mark Cuban. The Seed 1 funding round puts the company's valuation at $30 million USD. The previous round of funding last year saw the company raise $6.5 million USD at a valuation of $18 million. Okay, so what are they doing? They are making concrete robot 3D printers. Robot concrete 3D printers. Robot arms that squirt out concrete. Here's the thing though, and this is why I should have kept my laptop around here, the other computer, because I can't turn my screen right here. The Seawalls. I had to double check what a seawall was because I wasn't sure what the value prop was here, but it's actually legitimate. So seawalls are generally concrete slabs put down in the water to protect from some structure from being worn out by the waves. In front of that concrete structure, you then throw a bunch of rocks and other debris in order to break up the waves and that kind of stuff. But the seawalls are generally concrete slabs. They degrade over time. They degrade less if you allow organisms to stick to them. What Kind Designs is doing, which is really quite smart. Number one, they're able to print a seawall the way you would print the wall of a house, just putting down a big old fat bead of concrete, but they're able to give it ridges and grooves. They're able to make some that directly emulate barnacle formations so that other barnacles can go in there and fish can recognize it as a barnacle and do whatever. But they're texturing these seawalls so that stuff can attach to them, so that you build up this organic layer on the seawall that holds up really well, promotes sea life and all that good ecosystem stuff, but also allows the seawall to last for longer. Theoretically, they're only a couple of years old, so I'll bet they have not tested one of these seawalls to failure, but again, not an investor, and I don't know for sure. But it's a really good application because it could be tremendously valuable because these 3D printed seawalls could last longer because they promote biological protection of themselves. Whereas a standard concrete slab wears away at stuff. And yes, they take on barnacles and seaweed too, but not as readily and not as robustly as something that actually has some wave protection built into it. So I think it's a really good idea because it's a great demonstration of the technology. And here's the thing, seawalls are not a house, so no one has to look at them. And layer lines don't matter. It's a really, really good implementation because it's kind of a low grade implementation to where they're creating a textured surface that you can print out really reliably. You can make it in any shape, so you can slot it in wherever it belongs, in front of a house and on a pier or wherever it is. So you don't have to set up molds. So it should be affordable. And you get all these added benefits from the design and the geometry control. They're basically checking all the boxes of the reasons to use 3D printing, which is why it's really cool. I hope they do well. Right now, though, almost all of their money is coming from grants, not from sales. Since its funding round, Kind Designs moved into a 50,000 square foot facility, which is quite large. That is almost 4 times the size of ours here, 3 times the size of ours here. Expanded its team to 10 employees and 3 robots, and installed its first 3D printed seawall in Miami Beach. That's disappointing. Never mind. I forgot about that part. They've only put in 1 seawall. Currently, the company has been printing back-to-back residential and commercial projects, bringing in around $600,000 USD in revenue and winning 2 government contracts in Florida. Secured phase 1 grants from the US Navy and Air Force. Phase 2 projects now underway at MacDill Air Force Base. Yeah. In the context of Air Force contracts, flexible seawalls that could be rapidly implemented and probably made in a field of battle, probably useful for installing, I don't know, a harbor someplace if you need to quickly. So that's great. I hope they can move more of these. I'll bet they're having the problem that they're probably more expensive than a concrete slab, and they're probably trying to lean on the, oh, it's better because it grows more oysters, which is not going to fly. But if they can make it cost effective still, or at least cost parity with added benefit, that'd be pretty sick. They have some cosmetic versions of it all that are kind of focused on consumer residential projects, to where they print out the barnacle wall and stick it up there, and it looks better on your residential seawall than a slab of concrete. But and it matches your motif. But I hope they can put in some real ones. The pictures look really cool. I recommend you check them out. Kind Designs. I think it's a great implementation of design. Could be a good business model if they actually do the business modeling. Okay. All right. Quick product updates and that kind of stuff. Teleport. Big releases coming on Teleport. You guys may have seen them already. Maybe not. If it's not, it's a day away. If it's not, it happened a day ago. But no, our new shipping alternative will be deploying on Teleport any day right now if it's not already live. Check the channel and Teleport itself for sign-in information or for updates on that. Once we get that deployed and out, we'll be opening up new signups for Teleport. So Teleport should be opening up for new users here literally in just a couple days. And then we'll run. But yeah, we've been under the hood, moving some stuff around and taking care of our existing users. But we have, yes, a major version release of Teleport out that I hope is out right then. But in case it's not, I'm going to not talk about it too much more. But yes, I fully, effectively, the main feature within that, the biggest change is a totally free shipping alternative. To where that way Teleport is totally free with no additional ancillary fees. We've just built an alternative there. Okay. And then we've got on Tangled. Tangled right now, we're going through maintenance on machinery. The second extruder did not get implemented as fast as we thought it would be. It's in production hell, implementation limbo. And the other one had to go into maintenance. So we just got a little bit behind again when we thought we were going to get ahead. If anybody is waiting too long for your orders, just hit us up and we'll hit you a refund. We're totally fine with that on all those kind of things. Refund of membership and the fee if you're mad at us. That's fine. If you've been here already, you probably know this, but like Tangled is a project in progress, but it cannot take priority over our core stuff. It is $10 filament. If you need it faster, you need to pay more from somebody else. We're working to get caught up with all the demand and readjust all the valves for it all. But it is a community project more than it is like a core kind of product thing. So it's a take it or leave it kind of a situation. It is what it is. If you don't want it, you don't have to buy it. And if you took an order and you feel that we failed on it or something, just call us up and we refund it immediately. We have an instant refund policy, even on stuff we've shipped. Like if you think that your filament is wrong or defective or something like that, just send us a message and we instantly refund it. No questions asked. It's just easier that way, and it makes everybody happier. Again, Tangled is all about efficiency. So anywhere we can streamline the system, we do that. So like instant refund is one of those things. Human time is stupidly expensive, guys. So in order to keep Tangled cost effective, customer support is very direct. The filament changed diameters. Cool, instant refund. We don't need to talk about this. Buy from us again if you want to, but instant refund. I have a question about filament. Read the product description. That's how we go about it. It is very, very, very minimal. But y'all seem to be liking it still because we're still behind, and that's not for lack of trying. But thank you all who have been continuing to buy Tangled and being patient with us here through like the scaling pain. Because like I think I did mention this on podcasts, but yeah, Tangled is 10 times bigger this year than it was this time last year. So we're catching up and getting used to that. It's really weird when a manufacturing business like that scales that fast. It's 10x in a year for a commodity. That's odd. But anyhow, it's been fun. And again, appreciate all your guys' patience over there. If you want updates and that kind of stuff, we're trying to keep the blog updated. But of course, we do this weekly podcast where I talk about it like I just did. Okay, let's see here. What else? Okay, I think that's everything. Let me see if there's anything else weird or terrible. I don't think so. I think that gives everybody the company updates that they want around core stuff. Big update to teleport, all the rest of it. We're right in the mires. Oh, I might be out. No, I'll still be recording all the podcasts on time. But I'm traveling coming up this next week to where working on one of the new factories. So we'll cover that later on, and maybe subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you'll see some shorts or some previews of places. Okay, all right. So we have been hiring a bunch of folks lately, and whenever we hire people, we have a two-step interview process where we do a vibe check interview and then we do a technical interview with pretty much everybody. And the vibe check interview is talking to the person, finding out if we can possibly stand them and if they can show up on time to where they're supposed to be. And then the technical interview is like, can you do your job? And the technical interview we do it that way. Well, I'm not going to go into our hiring process right now. We'll give justification for that someday in the future. After someone is hired, we have an onboarding period, which is a 3-month probation. And in the first week, you have your first couple of days where we throw you right into stuff. And then you have a one-on-one with me where I go through the culture of Slant 3D, the history of Slant 3D. You get to ask me questions. We go back and forth about the company. There is a part of that thing where I read through and explain our culture statement, which we've had for a couple of years and is kind of how we hire, how we vibe check people, and how we evaluate. At the end of 3 months, we do a check-in one-on-one and throughout, and it's like, this thing is off, this thing is off. This culture statement has held pretty strong, and I would say the only place that it has been at fault is when we do not implement it. There's sometimes we let things, historically we have allowed things to let slide, which we don't anymore, and that has gotten better. But this is the standard everybody's held to, the expectation that everybody has, and some of the philosophy of how we operate. Oddly enough, that's what culture is. The reason this is important, and the reason we wrote it out, is because the culture of a company is a company's immune system. If any of you guys ever build businesses with teams and that kind of stuff, it is really fascinating to see that as a company grows, if you have a culture, foreign diseases are pushed out. So if you have a culture that is of a certain type and certain intensity, people who don't match automatically sort themselves out. Like literally, they just feel their skin crawl in the first week because they're like, this is not what I feel like, or whatever else it was. It just feels weird. And because it's an immune system. Everybody in the company has this belief, operates in this way, to where if somebody doesn't, they feel out of place and displaced. And they need to go find a company that does have the culture that reflects their values and lifestyle and that kind of thing. So a culture is stupidly important for that because it does more for sustaining the health of a company than anything else. If you have no culture, everybody's just random around. If you have a good culture, it protects itself, everybody's moving in a direction, and bad influences can't come in because they're just forced out and voted off the island. So these are ours. And I'm going to go through, and since I've been doing this with every new employee, one of these statements talks about what is the problem when it's 10x. This video is the solution for that, because we're going to crop this out and have it as a training video for everybody so that I can go into more bespoke stuff with people in those one-on-ones. So we're recording this and we're going to cut it off to share with new employees who haven't watched it. And everybody else can find out how the heck we do stuff. And if you don't like it, don't apply for a job. That all being said, one thing I do say is the culture statement is evolving a little bit. Right now it has 12 points in it, and that is too many. It should be below 10, and I'd like to go even smaller than that. So we're revamping it a little bit because there's some redundancies in here. But it works right now, so we're going to use it so that we have a minimum viable product of this video out there in the world until we get the other one polished. Okay. Culture. Slant 3D is creating something that has never existed before. We are inventing a new way of manufacturing and distributing products. This will be hard, but hopefully no more miserable than it has to be. That is the opening paragraph. Slant 3D is legitimately creating something that never existed before. Factories have always been designed to be optimized towards making the exact same thing over and over again. We're going to make 10 million of this pen. Let's build a factory to knock that out, to make this pen perfectly. We have a completely different challenge to where we have to figure out how to make 10 million completely unique and individual pens from each other and still do it at the same cost as this pen. That has never been done before outside of artisan factories, which means that that pen cost $100 a pop because some guy carved it out for you. So it's a really hard thing to do, and there's going to be challenges within it. But again, no more miserable than it has to be. There is no reason to pile on when there's already a big challenge in it, and we try to minimize that as much as possible. So things like this channel, there's a certain amount of lightheartedness in it as often as we can to where we don't take stuff too seriously because life is short. Everything, this one is emphasized here at the beginning in the main paragraph as a core idea I want people to have, but it also comes up in the individual bullet points. Everything we are doing today is wrong. Each day we have to figure out how to be less wrong. If we can make 1% improvements every day or week, that grows and compounds quickly. This brings up a couple of key points. We believe that the main thing we have to do is go to the gym every day. We have this really ambitious goal, which is building a warehouse where the shelves make the product, a factory that can actually make anything. That's going to be hard, and it is not going to happen tomorrow. So we need to have the discipline and the focus to just go to the gym every day. We want a ripped rockin' bod, but we're okay with going to the gym every day for 6 to 12 months and grinding it out. Just going there, getting something, and not just getting up on anything, because it will happen over a long period of time. And you make small iterative improvements to where it's a giant improvement when you look back at it. And I'll talk about that more. Okay, number 1, mistakes will be made. Learn from them and move on. But if they are made twice, you did not learn, and that is a problem. This is the thing. We're doing something hard, different, and new. No one is going to get it right on the first try and shouldn't expect to. You have to get something out. So mistakes can and should be made. But if they're made twice, that means you're not getting smarter. And if you're not getting smarter, then you're actively hurting the company. Because the first mistake is a learning experience. The second mistake is a cost. A useless cost. That's a waste. So people who are working here have to be able to learn from their mistakes and start to cross apply them. Of like, oh, I learned this mistake over here. I can apply that over there so that I don't make the same mistake over here. Around process and optimization and design style, those kind of things. Mistakes will be made, and someone will launch something or post a code that will take down the whole system or whatever it happens to be. Those things, if a new developer can post code that takes down the whole system, that is a learning experience for the rest of the company of like, oh, we should probably readjust the system so it's not that easy, or readjust onboarding so that that new developer can't take down the system. Those are all information, but it doesn't happen unless somebody does something. So do something, make the mistakes, learn from them, don't make them twice, and fix the systems when you find them. Number 2, successes should outnumber failures. It is fine to make lots of mistakes, but don't make the stupid ones. If you walk into a wall and say, dang it, I can't go through the wall. Well, yeah, no way. I hoped you would have known that before you got here. That's the thing. This is a measure of competence. When we have a one-on-one with a person, I'm going to ask, did you improve? Did you get better? Are you getting better? Or are you just mistake prone? As in, you're in the wrong job and you have no clue what you're doing. Or you are just the wrong person and don't have the expertise for what it is that we're doing. Whatever that evaluation is, we need to look at it. Because someone who is hired for a role should be good at that role to where they will make mistakes, but not the majority of the time. Or if it is, they're doing something very high risk. Weathermen and VCs can make mistakes 9 out of 10 times and still get away with it. But those are demonstrably incorrect. VCs are protected by a weird situation, and weathermen are protected for I have no idea why, but there it is. Number 3, hard work. The very simplest solution that we can fully control is how hard we work. More hours creates more success, more often than more brilliance does. Brilliance gets you a napkin sketch, works gets you the machine. We are a 5 minutes early, 5 minutes late company. I do not ascribe to the lone genius with a eureka moment idea. I did for a long time. It does not work. You have to put shots on goal, because even if you are the lone genius, 9 out of 10 products fail and 9 out of 10 companies fail. And I have seen at this point in my career thousands of products to know that that stat is totally true. In fact, I'm not going to go into that. But if it is the case that 9 out of 10 products fail, in order to be successful, it follows that you have to make 10 tries. That is hard work. You're not going to lounge around and navel contemplate until you find a great solution. You need to go get shots on goal. So, when given the option at Slant 3D between thinking about it for a few weeks until we find a great idea and just going and putting a shot on goal, doing something and getting it out there, we will go get something and put it out there, and then we'll start to iterate on it. Because that has a higher probability of success trying 10 times than trying once with a really great idea. Because that's not what does it. This is a different version of 10% or 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. Yeah, that's pretty true. And we ascribe to that idea. Number 4, the customer pays the bills. If they are having trouble, our product is not good enough. What can we change? This is number 4 in the culture statement. We're actually moving it up. As an engineering and technology type company, it's very easy to get a thought process of when a customer reports a problem, responding with, they're not doing it right. That is what engineers and technical people always do. It's so easy. I made it easy. But no, we don't go into any analysis of that. The customer couldn't do it. What is wrong with our product? Immediately, full responsibility. What is wrong with our product? Now, here is the nuance with this. And this actually comes from Bill Hader, if you want a source. SNL guy, turned into a really good director. You listen to the problem the customer reports. That is real. Customers very often make suggestions as to the solution. That part we ignore. The reason being is that the customer is not supposed to be the expert in the solution. That's our job. The customer is not supposed to come up with their own product. That's our job. That's not out of ego. It's just that's what they're paying us to do, which is to find the solution to their problem. So we listen to what the customer is feeling, the pain they're feeling, so that we recognize that that needs fixed. But then we use our expertise in order to create a solution that is good and ideally better than anything they can conceive of. So that's how we approach that. The customer pays the bills. So ultimately, we listen to them completely and we read every comment and every piece of input, even if we can't physically respond to all of it sometimes. But you feel the pain and you put that in and you start to address it as fast as you can, because that's the most real form of feedback. Also, by the way, if you're a product manager, if one person complained, probably 10 other people had the exact same issue. Fix it. By the way, for everybody who's watching this in the more public forum, I'm talking to a future employee who's working here and keeping them lined out as to what the expectation is when they work here. Number 5, everything is broken. We just don't know how yet. Whatever is acceptable today should be unacceptable in the near future. Get 1% better every day. This can be moving a table closer to you so you don't have to take as many steps, cleaning up some code, organizing your desk so that you can work more effectively. Do something that moves you forward. But also, nothing is special, and we are doing everything wrong. This is probably the main evaluation criteria I have for people. When we do a one-on-one, monthly, quarterly, whatever it is, do we look back at what they did 3 months ago and what they're doing today and say, wow, that was garbage 3 months ago. Glad we're not doing that now. Glad we got that fixed. Glad you upgraded that. That is kind of a main metric that we go about. Everything is broken. Can we see progress over time? And this is a really good evaluation of like projects. Like, oh yeah, the way we did that 3 months ago, freaking stupid. We've improved a lot since then. If you're not disgusted by the version of your work 3 months ago, you are not improving significantly enough, because you should be. Okay, number 6. Be an engine, not an anchor. If you are slowing us down, you will not stay at this company. Examples of anchoring: griping, moaning, checking your Instagram because you ran out of stuff to do. No. Or just whining about stuff, not contributing to the conversation. All of those are anchor performances. You should be adding energy to the room. Now, that's not to say people can't have off days. People will have off days. That's why you have a team, so that people can share energy. But when everybody is being an engine, you get into a scenario where 2 + 2 = 5. Whereas if you're an anchor, you create a scenario where 2 + 2 = 3. And that cannot stick around. Office politics, all the shenanigans, stepping around issues and just being careful, all the rest of that. No, candor, get to the point, go. Add energy and add momentum. And then everybody else comes along with it. Hard things get easier when there's momentum rolling behind you. And if you're having a bad day, you can take energy from other people. And then the next day you give them energy, and so on and so forth. This is one of the reasons that I require pretty much everybody work in the office, because there's electricity in the air that you do not get when you're working at home. At home, you're a single unit, but in the office, you can make 2 + 2 = 5. Number 7, be concise, get to the point, try not to be a jerk, but the priority is to be concise. This is so important. A very simple example of this is like imprecise language. People will come to me and say, Gabe, we're not getting a lot of new users. I'm like, and I will immediately respond and say, a lot doesn't mean anything. I have no idea what a lot is. And I do this all the time. You have to give some sort of a number. You have to give precision. You have to speak with precision of like, we have 10% fewer users than we did a week ago. Oh, cool. I know the context of this right now. We have $500 more than we did a day ago. Whatever the thing is, give it a numerical value when communicating around projects and progress and that kind of stuff. We wrote 200 lines of code versus I wrote a lot of code. I have no idea what a lot of code is. That kind of stuff. And that is the thing I harp on people, and a lot of people have to adjust with. This one is, again, the team helping each other out. Somebody will say an ambiguous statement, and it's just like, what does that mean? That doesn't mean anything, so on and so forth, so that we get to greater truth. The other version of being concise is around avoiding office politics. Anybody who works here, if there's like a report, because some guy's being a jerk, and somebody comes to me and says, Gabe, I don't want to be mean, but it doesn't seem like the code that guy is writing is very good. I'm like, is he being a dick? And is code garbage? Yeah, the code is garbage and is way slower than it ought to be by 25%. But yeah, getting to the point. I do not want a team to where everybody's being careful and handling everybody like glass. Get to the point. We're working on the feature. If you do not think somebody's work is good, you talk about the work. That video had a 10% lower conversion rate than the last one. That title didn't do whatever we needed to do. That was ambiguous. Gabe, you didn't put the call to action inside the video, and now we have fewer users coming through. Whatever, that kind of stuff. Get to the point without trying to spare feelings. Everybody here is a professional, so get to the point. Additionally, around whatever serious reports and that kind of stuff of he's being a dick, say he's being a dick. So I know what it is, because people pad and cover over those sorts of interpersonal issues to where a manager doesn't know what's going on. So get to the point and just say it however you're thinking. It's just the two of us talking. It's not going to go out of here. I'm not going to post what you said on Instagram. Just say it. This filters some people because it being that blunt can be kind of a personality trait. But again, it is necessary inside of this organization. Number 8, no one should know your job better than you. Be excellent. This, for new employees, yes, there's an onboarding process. Nobody's perfect right out of the gate. Though, a lot of people can show that they can be really good right out of the gate. But you are hired for a task. Slant 3D is a very self-directed organization. You are working on your project. You should not need to ask the manager, what is the next feature we should add to this? What is the next thing that needs done? You know we want more views, more users, more money, whatever it is. Whatever your optimization goal is, move towards that goal. Like I'll use the example of like our internal production software. We want to use our machines more heavily and ensure better part reliability. Those are kind of ambiguous vision goals. Perfect. Work on something that does that. You are also working on your project. You know what the bugs and the problems are. If you have availability and are trying to figure out what to do next, do that. Pick the one. Be self-directed in that. Also, by the way, being very customer-centric, which is back up there at number 4, we're always listening to the customer. The customer eliminates huge managerial overhead because if a developer wants to know what to do next, they just have to go to the comment feed and say like, oh, that's what people are asking for. I'll do that. They don't have to wait for the brilliance of some manager. They can just go and say right there, all the customers are whining about this. I'm going to go fix it. Go. Perfect. Do that. Think big. Ask the question, how could we do what we do 10x more or for 1/10 the cost? This is a thought process that gets people to stress test what they're doing. Many people get into a rut of whatever their job is. Of like, oh, I was hired up and we process 1,000 parts a day or whatever it was. And that's my job. It's like, we're processing 1,000 parts a day right now. There's going to be more. Do you really want to keep processing 1,000 parts a day the way you're doing it? Do you want to keep on editing videos the way you're doing it? Because there's going to be more. We are a fast growing company. So whatever you're doing, just say, do I want to do this 10 times more than what I'm currently doing? Oh no, we're going to have to find something. We need to hire people. We need to change this process. This giant Yeti standing in my road needs to get moved out, whatever it was. That is the point of that question in that line, which is to optimize your stuff so that as it gets bigger, it doesn't run over you. Because it's going to get bigger. One of the things we tell everybody is like, we're going to build 1.5 million 3D printers, minimum. We have to, in order to match the scale of like Amazon. Do something. No plan has ever worked perfectly, so dive in. Imagine you're getting shot at. Do you want to think out a strategy as they march on you, or do you want to shoot back? This is just breaking the analysis paralysis. What should I do? What's this, that, and the other thing? If you get in your head about all of this stuff, do something. Don't stand there. Don't wander around. Don't worry about it. Just do something. The very fact that you're doing something is fine. No one will ever reprimand you for doing something. The only place I ever get ticked at people is if they're doing nothing. That drives me crazy. But just do something. Go put a shot on goal. Try something. If it's wrong, whatever. We took the shot, or like we had to redirect you back over here, but that's okay. That's part of the learning process and part of the optimization. But do something. Nothing is learned from inaction. Nothing is gained from inaction. Do something. 11. Money does matter. When it is an obvious benefit, we will spend on it when possible, but we will never waste money. It has to have a return. This is an interesting one inside of Slant 3D because I am notoriously stingy. If somebody comes to me with an idea for something, like, hey, Gabe, can we try out this new sort of fishing wire pliers on this? And I'll say, okay, we'll buy one pair and make sure you keep the receipt so we can return it back if they don't work out. And I'm very stingy about it. Like, can we find it cheaper? Did you check Amazon and Walmart.com? You don't know. Like, we got to save $1 on this because it's an experiment. whatever it is, anything new or different, we're going to be very frugal about and very limited and constrain resources like crazy to see if it really matters. Once it proves proof positive, once it works, hey, Gabe, these pliers are amazing. Do they work well? Yeah, they speed us up by like 10%. Make sure they're every 8 feet so people can always reach one, so one is always an arm's length, and make sure the whole facility is covered. Go. When something is working, we spend aggressively until it stops working. Hey, Gabe, this new ad just had a 10% 10% ROAS. Had a 10x ROAS. Cool. Shove that some more money in that goose until it stops giving fargua. Fargua? Yeah. Pate. There we go. That's the one. If something is working, we spend aggressively on it. And if budget is available, it will get the budget. But until it proves it's working, it gets no budget at all. That is how we operate. Number 12, backbone. No one knows everything, but everyone should have an opinion and be willing to defend it multiple times. I believe, how do I want to go through this? Context and situations and a fast-growing company, stuff changes all the time. If you present an idea and the response is no, but you're good at your job, you're following all the other stuff and that kind of stuff, and you think that no is wrong, you need to be strong enough to bring it up again. From a managerial standpoint, for me and other managers as they grow, the first no may have a reason behind it, context and information that we don't know. So the no has to have some justification to it. But at the second no, it needs to be recognized that no was brought up twice because it is something that is itching at someone. A manager's job is not to create a situation where the strongest personality wins in a fight, because that's a dumb decision-making process. But at the same time, a little bit of resistance. If an idea can't get past the first no, it's not a strong enough or important enough idea to get that amount of focus. That's the philosophy on that. If it's not important enough for you to fight for it a little bit, then it's not that important of a thing. We've got other stuff to work on. So everybody here should be tough enough to be able to defend an idea a couple of times if they believe it's important enough. It's like, Gabe, can we get, I don't know, what's an example here? Gabe, can we get snacks in the break room? We have snacks in the break room, but Gabe, can we get a different snack in the break room? No, these are the only ones we can get from Costco. If it comes up again, different snacks in the break room, I'm like, okay, people are really tired of the existing snacks. We need to fix that because it's creating an itch in people's brain. But in more critical sorts of scenarios, it's can you defend your position and go get more ammo for your position. If the first answer was no, because of the information that was available, you need to care enough about it to go get more and then come back around and defend it again. That all being said, again, the company's growing fast and changing all the time, so the same ideas can return. How about we hire 100 call center employees to support teleport? No, because we're a tiny little startup. But when we're a big giant company, oh, okay, yeah, we should probably get that done now. Whatever that is. So that is the Slant 3D culture statement. What happens is I have historically always read through this and done this explanation to employees. From now on, within the context of imagine it being 10x bigger, I cannot have this time go into going through this exact same explanation with 10 times more employees. So we're recording this so that everybody can watch it before they get in. And then when they get to the one-on-one with me, we can talk about questions and goals and get to that a little more expediently without me being a record player. So this is a scaling example of using our culture in action. And refining our processes and doing a 1% improvement by recording this down. So now it's ready forevermore. And we got one version of this out, even though this still needs to be refined more. So you have just heard our culture statement and seen multiple points of it in action by the very recording of this video. This will be cropped out and it will be turned into a separate unlisted video that new employees will get to review in the future. And it will stand as a shining example of it. As we stacked up tasks and I got the podcast done, got some content out there for everybody to know how we do stuff here at Slant 3D, and created an employee onboarding tool and system all at the same time. That's efficiency. Hopefully this was useful to all you guys. Again, this was a pretty long podcast, so we're not going to get to company questions again, but we are storing them up, and probably there'll just be a big old dump of them here this next week. We've got them coming in from Reddit and from the Slant 3D YouTube channels. If you have a question that you want me to answer, go ahead and go question : whatever your question is down in the comments. Has to follow that format. If you don't follow it, we don't grab it. Them's the rules. If you can't follow simple rules, can't have your question answered. So question : whatever your question is, down in the comments of this video. Okay, everybody. That's it. I'll let you all go. Hope you had a good time. Let me know if there's anything you want us to talk about in future podcasts. But beyond that, have a great day, everybody.